Spoiler warning. The following has major spoilers for Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Naruto is a 700 episode show with an incredibly large cast of interesting and memorable characters. As such, it is very easy for some of the characters to go unnoticed among the Jiraiya's and Itachis of the story. So today, I just wanted to take a look at 4 less respected Naruto characters that I personally find pretty interesting. And no, Sakura's not one of them. She's getting her own video. Alright, let's do this. Number 1. Dosu. If there's one thing Masashi Kishimoto excels at, it's designing characters with drip. My dude is rocking the Raditz hair, bandage, camo, scarf combo, and it's sick. But being cool isn't what makes Dosu one of my favorite Part 1 characters. I love Dosu because he is a jobber who refuses to be a jobber. Everybody knows the countless no-name minor thugs who work for major villains in shonen, just to be obviously betrayed and killed by them in the end. But Dosu refused to go out like that. Orochimaru told Dosu to kill Sasuke, but after getting curb stomped by Sasuke's curse mark state, Dosu realized he'd been played. Obviously, if Orochimaru really wanted Sasuke dead, he wouldn't have given him such a powerful weapon. Dosu knows that he was just being used to test Sasuke and almost went out as a pawn. Dosu retreats from Sasuke instead of fulfilling his duty by dying, and instead brutalizes Choji to move forward in the Chunin exams. He figured out on his own that Orochimaru was using him as a guinea pig, and planned to take out Gaara and Sasuke to prove his worth to him and get revenge. And he was right to do so, honestly. Kabuto said that Dosu had no further use, and Orochimaru used Kin and Zaku as hosts for the Edo 1st and 2nd Hokage. He tried to bring back the 4th Hokage too, and I wonder who he planned to use as a sacrifice. Had Dosu succeeded, he would have royally messed up Orochimaru's plans. Unfortunately, he was no match for Gaara. But his tenacity, agency, and refusal to be used like every other shonen henchman makes him to this day one of my favorite Naruto antagonists to revisit. Staying in the characters introduced during the Chunin exams category, we have Kabuto. Nobody really talks about Kabuto that much, even though he's a great character. In the Chunin exams, Kishimoto establishes that Kabuto has an unknown past, uncertain goal, and a tenuous relationship with Orochimaru. He expands on that in Shippuden to explain why Kabuto does what he does. The extent to which Kishimoto keeps Kabuto in the story is surprising. He's a relatively minor villain who was defeated by Naruto early on. These characters often disappear from Naruto after something like this. However, Kabuto unexpectedly shows up after Sasuke kills Orochimaru. He was simply an appendage to Orochimaru originally, but he reinvents himself by absorbing Orochimaru and has a major impact on the story later on. This development ties into the reason I find Kabuto so fascinating: his battle with identity. He starts out as an empty shell, following in Orochimaru's footsteps. He wants to gain power and knowledge in order to become a complete person, because that is the same philosophy as his old master. He thought he could surpass Orochimaru, but all he did was copy him, as is represented in him literally absorbing and being overtaken by Orochimaru. Kabuto and Sasuke were the 2 pupils of Orochimaru. After the master failed, Kabuto tried to copy him and likewise failed. Sasuke, however, found a brand new path, which is why he succeeded. Luckily, Kabuto had something to fall back on, an old identity that he could reassume. While Orochimaru had no one and burned all of his bridges, Kabuto still had his old family back at his orphanage, allowing him to firmly embrace his own unique identity as Kabuto with them after failing to become the new Orochimaru. His failure and reformation even helped inspire Orochimaru to change. I find Kabuto's path and redemption heartwarming and sympathetic, and I find his large impact on the story despite humble origins to be very welcome and intriguing. Tsunade is a bit of a weird one on this list, but she is warranted, given that she gets more than her fair share of disrespect. Some people just disregard her backstory or call her a failure for Hokage, but that's missing so much of what makes her interesting. The ninja world is a harsh and brutal place, and it was inevitable that Naruto would run into his opposite, a foil that would reject his notion of dreams and optimism. Tsunade fills this role perfectly. The character who plays this role must come off as sympathetic and understandable, yet still be wrong. Tsunade lost her brother and her lover in the war, after both declared their intention to become Hokage. She was emotionally scarred and traumatized by their deaths, and after learning of the third Hokage's passing as well, she very understandably was cynical and jaded about the ideology of the Will of Fire and the position of Hokage. But she goes too far in disparaging the title of Hokage, failing to recognize all the achievements and heroism of the previous Hokage, as well as all the other tons of shinobi that have pursued and achieved their dreams. Naruto is the perfect person to change her. He embodies the exact same spirit and optimism of the people she lost, but he defies her expectations by learning the Rasengan, beating Kabuto, and most importantly, surviving. And her ability to save his life makes her overcome her feeling of hopelessness and realize her growth into a powerful person capable of saving lives and leading her people. The loss of her fear of blood perfectly symbolizes this emotional growth on her part. She takes on the mantle of Hokage, accepting the Will of Fire finally by accepting and embodying the will of those who she lost. She becomes a complete character in that arc and works towards the embetterment of the village thereafter. People hate that she planned to sacrifice Jiraiya, but conveniently ignore that she changed her mind prior to fighting Orochimaru and then beat him into submission to make up for it. People hate that she let Danzo operate in the shadows, when Sarutobi did the exact same thing. While Lord Third let Danzo kill all the Uchiha children, Tsunade fought the Konoha elders throughout Shippuden to keep Sasuke off of the rogue ninja list and allow Naruto his freedom to search for Sasuke. They hate that she let the village get destroyed, even though she projected what's most important, the Will of Fire in the next generation, by using all of her energy and life force to save civilians from pain. Tsunade was not the perfect Hokage, but she was also an incredible person and leader, the linchpin of the Hokage's fight against Madara, and one of the biggest influences on Naruto. Essentially, an incredible character. There's one more character that needs to be discussed here. The Shark Man, one of my favorite characters in the series, Kisame Hoshigaki. Kisame doesn't have the depth of a Kabuto or Tsunade, but like Dosu, he's just a character that I find really interesting for his mentality and his actions in the story. Kisame is easily one of the most interesting characters in the Akatsuki for one reason. Unlike Deidara, Hidan, Kakazu, or Sasori, Kisame was actually secretly loyal to Obito, something none of the other Akatsuki members knew. Additionally, he's the only member of the Akatsuki, besides Zetsu, who knew about the Eye of the Moon plan. Not even Pain or Itachi knew that. The reason behind this is something established during the Five Kage Summit that even connects back to the Land of Waves arc. Obito was manipulating the 4th Mizukage to run a reign of terror to distract from the fact that he was using the country alongside the Rain Village to hide the operation of the Akatsuki during its early days. Kisame, meanwhile, was working as a team killer for the Mist Village. He worked as a liar, tasked with killing comrades to protect the secrets of the village, perfectly reflecting the dirty side of the Mist and being a shinobi that Zabuza talked about. Sharks eat their own in the womb, a perfect metaphor for what Kisame was, what Kisame didn't want to be. I find this character trait to be incredibly interesting, given his relationship with Itachi. Every pair in the Akatsuki has a theme. There's the artist duo, the immortal duo, and God and the angel. After learning Kisame's backstory, we finally understand that he and Itachi are the traitor duo, both team killers. When they first met, Kisame warned Itachi that they were partners, but also to be wary of him. Obito knew that Itachi was a double agent working for Konoha, so he took the team killer and paired him up with Itachi. The idea that Kisame might have been a countermeasure to Itachi, who actually knew more than Itachi did about the Akatsuki, is really interesting. Moreover, I love that Kisame believed in the Eye of the Moon plan the entire time. As someone tasked with the worst responsibilities of the shinobi world, he truly wanted to fight for a world of illusions, a world with no human lies. It greatly validates Obito's plan that there were others in his position that embraced his ideology. And in the end, Kisame proved that though he lived as a liar, he could change and die true to himself, sacrificing himself to protect information that could hurt Obito, and delivering key intel to him as well. Kisame failed to change the shinobi world the way he wanted to, but he died a changed man, one firm in his actions and beliefs. So that is my top 4 underrated Naruto characters. Feel free to let me know what you think of the list and drop your own in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll try to have some more content out for this Baron channel eventually.